You're listening to the Wedding Procast UK, the place to be if you are a UK wedding professional looking to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade, 10-year wedding photography veteran and CEO at the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors. If you want to grow and streamline your business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you hit subscribe where you listen or join our email list at www.spwv.co.uk. You'll find the sign up form at the bottom of every episode, and by doing so, you won't miss a thing. So let's jump into today's show. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. So you may have seen in the title of the show, we are talking about is negative self-talk stunting your success? And today we have a fantastic guest to talk to us about this topic. She is a proactive mindset coach, resetting beliefs, self-talk and behaviours to help business owners learn to earn more consistently and authentically. And I think that is the perfect person to come and talk to us as we are opening back up and getting our businesses up and running again. So let's jump into today's show. Let's speak to the lovely Vivienne Joy. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today because we have Vivienne with us. Vivienne Joy, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you.
Well, thank you very much, lovely Donna. It is lovely to be here. I love weddings and all weddings. Getting married in November, so it's all very close to my heart. So anybody that's listening to this, if you're in Norfolk, hit me up. I might be looking for services. Anyway, yes, thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And we're going to be talking about a topic today that I think a lot of us, can relate to in some way or another, and maybe even you don't even realize you're doing it. This is one of those things that I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're doing it. And the topic of conversation is negative self-talk, ladies and gentlemen. So do you talk negatively to yourself? Are you the person who says, oh no, I can't do that, I can't do that, no, I wouldn't be any good at that, I'm not worth that, I can't charge that. The list goes on and on and on. So Vivienne, what is negative self-talk?
Well, you've just beautifully displayed what it is really. So the negative self-talk comes from a map of your mind. So you've just beautifully displayed the self-talk of your own map. So that map is created through your beliefs and the structures you put in your head from a very young age. They say from about the age of 3. So like the first time someone hurts you in some way, say emotionally, then you'll create a belief that then triggers a pattern which includes self-talk. So self-talk can't occur without a belief. So a belief creates a thought, creates the self-talk, creates the behaviour and creates the outcome, and that's kind of the process.
Crikey, it's very deep, isn't it? You know, you think that it's just words that you're saying and it comes from somewhere so much deeper. So before we jump into the topic completely, tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do, because obviously I will have introduced you at the beginning with what we put in the application form thing. It's not an application form. I don't make people fill in an application form. It's just an overview of who people are, so I can use some words for the intro. But tell people a little bit about what it is that you do and how you work with people.
So I do this sort of stuff. So I'm known by the thousands of business owners I've coached over the last 6-7 years. I'm a mindset reset expert. So what does that mean? Everything that happens comes from your head, and actually anything that's happening that you don't want to happen, i.e. I don't mean like, COVID, I mean anything that's happening from your life, then actually you can change. So if you've got a behaviour, some self-talk, self-hate, self-sabotage, procrastination, all of those things are going to stop you from being successful, have joy and, you know, reach your goals and all the things that we're all trying to achieve, especially in business. But in life, it could be anything. You know, when people go for a new job, they may be saying to themselves, oh, I'm not really qualified. Why would they employ me? Why would they take me on? God, I've never earned that sort of money. Why would I get that kind of car? So this kind of self-talk comes back to, and that kind of self-talk would link back to self-worth. And that comes back time when, and it could be something really simple, like, I don't know, you wanted a doll in the shop and your mum said, no, we can't afford it, and your brain heard, you're not worth it. So every single thing that happens is happening because of the belief that you're holding. So it's like your rule book, your map of the world, as they call it in NLP. So yeah, so I'm an NLP master and trainer. I've been doing it for many years, 26 years. So yes, I think I can call myself an expert after doing this. And what tends to happen is people believe their own thoughts, and actually they're very rarely true. So especially when it's negative. So you could be telling yourself something day in, day out that is utter rubbish. And so I do something called belief busting. We have to go looking for evidence, because you can only keep something in your head when you know it's true. So for example, when you were younger, and I'm sorry if I'm going to break anyone's heart now, you believed in Father Christmas.
If there are any children listening, turn off the radio now.
And so when we, whatever age we are, discover, I don't know, said parent eating a mince pie and realise actually Father Christmas doesn't exist, or they tell us, or whatever happens, your brain can't then believe that Father Christmas is real. So that removes that belief. And so I spend my time helping people realise that their own shitty beliefs are not true, and that actually we can reprogram them or reset them, hence calling myself a mindset reset expert. And once you do that from the internal part of you, then all the external parts naturally shift. So, for example, just to put this in a frame that most people will understand, losing weight or getting fit, which most people have done at some point, unless they are just athletes who are perfectly formed from the beginning to the end of their life. And actually what happens is we try and change something outside. So we'll say, right, well, I need to lose a stone in weight. I'm going to only eat at this time. I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. And they'll try and change the external things rather than, oh, what made you put on the stone in the first place? Because if we can go back to that internal thing of, oh, what did I do? Did I start eating chocolate every night? Did I start drinking wine at the weekend? What did I do to create a new pattern to get a new outcome? So rather than changing the outcome, change the root of the pattern. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That's what I do all day long. And of course, how does that reflect in business? You could believe you're no good at public speaking. Most of it comes down to standing up at school and saying something and the teacher shooting you down. A lot of people have that experience. Therefore, oh no, I couldn't possibly put my head above the parapet because, of course, what if somebody tells me I'm wrong? Or I couldn't possibly stand on a stage. That's where we were made to be in the pantomime, or made to be in the Christmas whatever. So a lot of our beliefs and our patterns come from what we decided when we were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and we just grow them up, so they just become more powerful. So if you were told when you were 7 years old you were lazy, which is one of mine, then you would grow up believing you were lazy. And anybody listening to this will think, well, I can evidence that, I definitely am. But what happens is you will try and make your beliefs true. Your unconscious has to know everything. That's why we ask why, you know, when kids are, why is that? We have to know why. And so what happens is you have a belief and you reaffirm it. You're looking for evidence. So for example, I was just speaking to a client earlier who was talking about a holiday, and she was looking, and her brain was looking for evidence as to why she shouldn't go, and a partner's brain was looking for evidence of why they should go. Both a complete account of the same life that they lead, but actually she was looking for reasons not to, and he was looking for reasons to go. So we are looking for what we believe. So she believes she shouldn't go, he believed they should go, so they were looking for evidence, and of course could both find it, because we're really clever. We will find evidence to make our beliefs true. So I was like, good luck with you two. Maybe, I don't know, have a holiday in the UK and that's sort of that. But anyway, that's not the point. Is about what you will seek, what you will find what you seek. Simple as that. So yes, that's what I do in a nutshell, and I do that with business owners, traditionally more kind of service-based business owners, because usually it's based in the impact they want to make and the service they want to give, rather than selling a product. So that's quite a different energy, quite a different thing, different exchange. So helping people understand their own value, their own worth, so charging correctly, because otherwise you'll be like discounting all over the place, or not charging yourself correctly because you won't know your own worth, because you'll be saying, why would anybody pay that?
Oh my goodness. And I think This is something that's just really important. And I actually had this conversation last night in our members only group. We had Hannah Walker, who was on the podcast a few weeks back. And she was talking, she's a sales expert. We were talking about sales conversations on the podcast, but in the group, she was talking about sales objections. And we were talking about the difference between our own self-worth and value, which is what I think a lot of this negative talk is aimed at, our own self-worth and value versus the value of what we're actually selling. And those are two very different things. And, you know, I think for me, I've spent a long time equating my pricing to my personal value, because that's what somebody once told me. They said, you know, what do you want to earn? What lifestyle do you want to live, which is like what I'm worthy of, versus your cost of goods and your cost of doing business, and work out what you should charge based on that. And I shouldn't have been looking at that. I should have been looking at my cogs. I should have been looking at my cobs, and I should have been looking at what is the value of the product that I'm selling, which is the service that I provide. And that is not attached to my self-worth.
No, but it is, of course, because your self-worth is all you know. So of course you can't base that on anyone else. And actually, if you take it to another level, when we're talking about, I do a pricing mindset reset mastermind. It's a half-day mastermind. It's £97 if anybody's interested in joining it. The next one, I think, is September, where we go deep, very deep. It's a really intensive half day, because actually it's not even about what that's worth, because to somebody it's worth one thing and to another person it's worth everything.
All about perception.
To give you an example of that, my money mindset reset, which I offer for free because most people don't want to pay to do money mindset work. That's my belief, right? Not everybody else's. There are people that charge a lot of money for it. But there was a woman on the last one who she was talking about, she was a therapist, and I said she helped people give up smoking. And I was saying to her, okay, so to somebody that doesn't want to give up smoking, if £500 or whatever you charge for your service is a lot of money, but somebody who absolutely wants to give up smoking, like their life depends on it, their relationships depend on it, they hate the smell, they hate it, £500 is a steal. It's absolutely a bargain to get the outcome of definitely not smoking. So it's only worth what somebody really wants from it, which is where all the ideal client work comes from. Yes. So, you know, it's a whole load, it's a really big subject on it. I mean, a huge subject. Yeah. But the self-worth stuff is all money mindset, but it isn't money. It's never about the actual money. It's about how much we're valued by ourselves. So you will only ever charge what you would pay. Anybody listening in. So the way you earn money is the way you spend money. I listened to a talk a few years ago by a guy called Grant Cardone. He's a big American billionaire bloke. I wasn't too keen on it, but this one thing he said was, the way you earn money is the way you spend money. Like, for example, if you wouldn't spend £200 an hour on something, then you'll never charge £200 an hour. If you wouldn't spend £20 on anything, like I don't know, then you wouldn't charge it either. Yeah. So if you host events, let's say hypothetically, and you wouldn't spend £500 on a full day of training, then you're never going to charge £500 for a full day of training.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, absolutely. So
I used to run events years ago when I first started Vivienne Joy's, my business. I used to run events and they were £35. And they were a whole day, included lunch. And I look back at that and I go, Jesus, what were we thinking? Like, they were worth hundreds. And the changes and the, you know, dramatic change in people from that day were incredible. I don't run them anymore, I hasten to add. But I remember there was a girl one day who messaged me and said, I'd love to come to your event. I really need it, but I haven't got the money. Now, to some people, £35 is nothing. And to other people, it's everything. Like, it's the difference between having a meal out that month. Like, it really, so this is all about money mindset. And I knew this woman, and I thought she does need it. And I just said to her, look, Louise, why don't you just come? Don't worry about it. Pay me back at some point. I don't know, buy me lunch whenever you can. It's not about that. I know you need to come. I'm willing to buy your lunch for you. Did she come? No, she still didn't come. So it wasn't about the money. It was about value. Yes. So this is about people not valuing things. So you could, you know, Donna, you were just talking about being, used to be a wedding photographer. If you weren't putting across the right energy or the right marketing or the way that you come across, you could be charging £200 and you wouldn't get any clients, or 20 grand and you wouldn't get any clients. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah. The money isn't the thing. The money is never the thing. Some people think I'm ridiculously expensive. Some people think I'm an absolute bargain because I'm a life changer. So it just depends what you need and how badly you need it and what your own money mindset is.
That's so good. It's so good. And I mean, obviously a little bit off topic because, you know, we're talking about just the negative self-talk, but I think this is all completely and utterly relevant. And we will talk a little bit more about that 3-day money mindset.
Comes from, because if you thought, let's just take that hypothetically, if you knew you were the best at what you do and everything you did was of massive value and you only talked to the people that you were supposed to talk to, then your self-talk wouldn't be negative. You wouldn't be saying, oh, they're not going to pay that, or why would they come to that, or why should I do that? Oh God, I can't put another post out today. So it's really relevant, because the negative self-talk can only come from a negative reflection of your own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
So if you believed you were amazing, there wouldn't be any negative self-talk. You go, cry, I need to get out and tell everyone, oh my God, this is perfect for you. You would have very positive, empowering, moving forward self-talk. So the belief structure is everything.
So where does it come from? I mean, a lot of us like have this like imposter syndrome, like I'm not good enough, and we're all doing this self. Where does that come from? Because it's not like, you know, if, for example, taking me as an example, because, you know, it's easy for me to pull on. I was a photographer. I have this innate desire to have a qualification in whatever I'm doing, because it makes me feel like I'm qualified to do it. Now, as a photographer, there are many, many photographers out there that have got years and years of experience, do absolutely beautiful images, and have never done a diploma in photography in their life. It's all self-taught. One of the best photographers I know, Jasmine Starr, who's the owner of Social Curator, she does the photos for that as well. She is an award-winning wedding photographer. She built her business. She didn't even own a camera when she said, I want to be a photographer. You know, she's all self-taught. So you don't need it. But I felt like I did. I felt like I needed that piece of paper to prove that I was good enough. And even after that, I was always feeling like I wasn't good enough to do it, even though I'd got the diploma. So there you go. I've opened the door there, Vivi. Where does this stuff come from? Why do we have this innate sort of ingrained, self-deprecating?
Well, firstly, we don't all have it. You have it. So that's number one. So some people listening going, I don't have that as an issue. And others will be like, oh my God, Donna, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So we all have a different map, and it's created by experiences. So it sounds like at some point, the only point of reference I can have for that really is I used to have a client who had exactly this going on, and it was to do with when she was in an exam at school and she didn't know any of the answers and didn't think she was good enough, and she copied somebody. And I'm not suggesting you did that one.
No, I didn't.
So for her whole life, she believed she was never going to earn anything by her own merit. So there can be all sorts of small things. They're small, tiny experiences, but sometimes they're not even experiences. They're just a thought. They're just a thought. I've got so many stories. I don't know how long we've got. I mean, I've got thousands of them where there's just a thought has created a belief. So any psychologists or therapists listening, they're called schemas. So you can Google it and find out more. Schematas, actually. So SCHEMA, and they're the way that your brain creates a thought. And it can be a distorted, generalized, or delete even any relevant information for you to create something in your head that's not even true. So for example, I'm just going to give you a ridiculous example we've all experienced. You could walk into a room, 3 people are in the room, one of them turns and looks at you, and depending on how you feel, you'll determine what that look means. So if you're feeling really confident and great, you'll think, oh, they're looking at me, it's because they must like my hair. If you're not feeling so great, you think, oh God, they're thinking, oh my God, what is she wearing? So this is same experience. It's nothing to do with the person that looked at you. It's about your perception. Yeah. So at some point somewhere, my darling Donna, something has happened to make you feel like someone's going to challenge you on your capability, possibly. So you could root back into your past to work out when that was, or something like that. Or they haven't challenged you, you've challenged, i.e., I don't know, I wasn't as good as Sarah, who I sat next to in maths. She knew everything and I didn't know anything. She found it easy and I didn't. Therefore, I'm
no good.
I'm no good, I'm not as clever, I'm not as worthy. So sometimes nobody's done anything. We've just made a decision based on our perception of someone else. It's amazing we ever, A, get along, B, get on with life, because we get all sorts of shitty beliefs from nothing at all. It's hilarious. Yeah. So the example of just walking into a room, that person could have looked at you and thought anything. but you are making a decision as to what that look means. And your unconscious job to keep you safe. So you have to do that. It's natural. You can't stop that. So the best you can do is get your own belief map sorted, your own mindset sorted, so that whatever happens, you can make your own depiction based from a position of power and confidence rather than disempowered and fear, which is what is being created a lot of the time. I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty much as I'm as qualified as I possibly can be. There's literally one qualification in the whole of my career that I haven't done because I don't want to do that area. No one has ever, I've spent thousands of hours and money, no one's ever asked me. I'm going to tell you, no one's ever asked me, and I've worked in big corporates, you know, £7 billion turnover companies, the biggest I've worked for, didn't even ask me if I was qualified, not at any time. And I've just taken on 2 very high level photographers for my wedding. Did I ask them if they were qualified? No, I don't give a toss. I want to see the pictures. I want to see what people are saying about the pictures. The evidence, it's the energy, it's the emotion, it's the communication. I don't care whether they're qualified or not. No, I don't give a toss, and most people don't, and that's the case. I mean, unless I was having brain surgery, I'd probably want to know the brain surgeon was qualified to know which part of my brain went where. So there are, and you know, accountants, there are some industries that have to be qualified, but yeah, if that's your particular situation, might be worth delving into it, because you'll carry that pattern across to everything. So with whatever your business is now, you'll think, I'm not qualified, I haven't got enough knowledge about it. And it's also a really good way to keep yourself stuck, dare I say, because you'll be thinking, oh, I would do that, but I need to learn more. I would do that, but I need to know more. I need to get a certificate. I need to go to college. I need to do a course. So what will happen is keeps you nice and safe and not having to step out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even true, probably.
Yeah, that's spot on. Spot on. I shall have to do some journaling around that. Thank you.
On, get the music going, and off you go. Yeah.
So now we're sort of understanding that, you know, this negative self-talk is coming from these thoughts that we're having. How do we start to change that conversation?
Yeah. Okay. I have a model that I created myself. It's called the Mindset Reset, and Reset is an acronym. So it's a 5-step process. So I'm going to run you through it if you've got time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite straightforward. So the first thing you have to do is realize. So that's the art. You have to realize what you've said and then remember where it comes from. So for example, if you were saying to yourself, oh, I can't possibly do that, I'm not qualified enough, you need to realize you've said it, because that's the main problem, is not knowing that our actual verbalizations are coming from belief. So as soon as you hear it, you think, oh, that's a belief. Where does that come from? It's not true, is it, realistically? Like that's saying, oh, I have to be qualified to do a podcast. Well, no, you don't, because here you are. And unless you have a qualification in podcasts, in which case, oh, I'm interested. No, you don't. So consequently, you don't stop and think, oh, I can't do a podcast, I'm not qualified. No, you think, oh, it'd be lovely, we'll have fun, we'll record it, people will listen, they'll enjoy, they'll learn, and maybe they'll come towards me and work with me some more. So actually, the belief that you have around other things probably isn't true either. So you don't have to be more qualified as a photographer. No, you need experience, more talent, I don't know, more effort, I don't know. So remember it, so realize you've done it, so kind of, you know, realize you've done it and remember it. And then the next part is the E, is to kind of experience it. So kind of remember when you found it, where it came from, like, so that, and that, you know, that's where a coach comes in, but you can do it yourself if you're really, I don't know, tuned in or clued up to your own unconscious, is to work out where it came from. So for example, I was told I was lazy by my mum. I can remember, as soon as I catch that, oh God, I'm so lazy, I hear myself say it and go, no, you're not, Vivienne. It's a shitty belief. It's not real. It's something you believed when you were 8 and it's not true. Now you're 48 and 40 years of that, of trying to make it true, and it's not. I'm not lazy. I work 16-hour days sometimes. I don't know anyone less lazy than me. So actually I have to go back to that point and remember. And if you haven't done it before, it can be a bit, ooh, that's probably where a lot of psychotherapy comes in, and therapy and journaling. So actually where that came from, and you might be able to recognize now where your thing came from, is when I was 8 years old and I wasn't feeling very well one morning. God knows why, who knows, I don't know, just one of those kid bugs. And my mum was trying to get me to go to school. So now my 48-year-old brain can reflect back to that with no emotion attached, because I'm just like, oh, that's normal. If you've got kids, you'll probably understand it. And I can remember my mum saying, come on, get up, you've got to go to school. And of course I didn't feel very well and I didn't want to get up. And my mum was really annoyed because she was probably late for something. And of course, she needed to get me to school on time. And she shouted really angrily, which my mum never did much, "God, Vivienne, you're so lazy." And of course, because I didn't feel very well, and if you're in an altered emotional state, you'll believe what somebody with a higher power of authority tells you. So I believed that. God, I must be lazy. She's right. I'm laying in bed. I don't want to get up. My mum knows everything anyway, because she's the one teaching me everything. She must be right. I'm lazy. And that stayed with me. And then what happened was I evidenced that. So then I was too lazy to do games at school. I was too lazy to get my first job. So I made it true. Self-fulfilling prophecy. It wasn't true in the first place, though. So when you get space, which is the S of the reset, and you get some space from it, i.e. I've got 40 years space from it now, and I look at it, I go, that wasn't true. I wasn't lazy, I wasn't very bloody well. There's no way I wanted to get up and go to school. Maybe I'd been sick. I can't remember the beginning part of that because I was 8 years old. But actually, my mum said I was lazy because that was just a word that came out of her head because she was frustrated, but it was never true. So I've lived that, oh God, Vivienne, you're so lazy, from a belief I made that was never true in the first place, from just one thing my mum said.
Yeah.
Like, parents hate me when I do this because I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing to my children? That's fine. If you're not doing it, someone else will. So actually, the next E, so we've got remember, experience it, and get some space from it, okay, to see it more objectively. And then the next E is evidence. So the evidence is there isn't any. I wasn't lazy. So I look at my school, look at everything else. I got good, I've got good evidence that tells me I'm not lazy. Whereas before I was looking for evidence that I was. And then the T is the truth. So the truth is actually, I'm not lazy. Far from it, actually. So once I've done this once in my head, my brain then can't allow me to believe it. Remember what I said about Father Christmas? So once I've gone back to the original experience, we call them the first or worst in NLP. So the first or the worst time, and that was my first time, and probably the worst time. No one's ever called me lazy since. I'll kill them. But because it triggers me. So when you talk about reactions outside of you, it's when someone triggered something inside of you. Like if you said to me, "Oh, Vivienne, you're very quiet," I'd go, that's not true, that's funny. It wouldn't trigger me. But if someone said to me something, I don't know, if someone said to me, "Oh, you're being a bit lazy," it would trigger me because I believe it myself. Yeah, so that's where the external triggers come from. It's amazing we have a relationship, right? We've got all this going on. There's a little landmine of belief sitting in the back of our head. Anyone could just trample on at any time and just make us explode. And we have it happen, don't we?
Yeah.
Friendships, in work, business, where we say something and someone has what we call an adverse reaction, like, that shouldn't have made you that cross, what's going on there? They're like, whoa. And that's because we've hit somebody's trigger point, we've hit someone's belief, and they are going to react to it and respond to it. And so yeah, it's nothing to do with you probably in the first place. So so once I've worked out the truth of it, I can't believe it anymore. That's the end of it, really. But it still will come up in my head because I've been doing it for so long. So it's that pattern, but I'll just laugh and go, oh no, that's my 8-year-old self. Bless her. She didn't know any different. So that's how you can stop yourself from believing shit that's not true.
Yeah.
There's the thing of it, really. Does that help?
No, that's brilliant. That's so good. And I think that actually it is that first R, realizing, because we say so much negative to the can't, shouldn't, it's not, those words can be so detrimental, and we don't even realize how detrimental they are to our psyche.
I think we do know that they're not right for us, but we don't know what to do about it, and they all come from these beliefs. The one I hear most in business is I must, and I call it mustivating. I must, because actually I must comes from a position of I don't want to. Whereas I am going to, or I want to, or I'll enjoy, are more moving towards kind of enjoyable things. But I must, or I need to, they're very negative energy spaces. Like your to-do list is like, oh, I've got loads to do, or get done list is, oh, I'm going to get that done. So tiny little changes in the language that you're using to yourself will change your negative self-talk, will change your self-talk, but you've got to catch it.
Yeah.
So every time you say something that is negative, even if it's inside your head, just catch it. Imagine yourself catching it and looking at it and going, oh, what is that? That's not good for me. I don't want that anymore. Can I work it out of me? Can I work out what it is and work it outside of myself? Because that way it won't belong to you anymore and you can let it go. So sounds easy, and it is when you're under some expert guidance, where you get the concept of it. And once you've done it a few times, you can coach yourself. It becomes really powerful.
I've heard that must, rather than saying I must, I get to. I get to do that. It's something that comes from you. You have the power, and I think that is so powerful. And I think working with a coach is definitely, if you are swallowed up by negative self-talk, because I think a lot of us can be, just constantly second guessing ourselves, then working with a coach and getting to the bottom of this is really valuable. And I would highly recommend Vivienne, because I've done her 3-day money mindset reset, and I found it so valuable. In fact, it's one of those things that I think you should do a couple of times. Like, the first one starts and the more you do these things, the better you get at discovering what these triggers are and things like that. So
you're welcome to that. Next one is on the 25th of August. So I'll give you the link for your listening.
Brilliant. And I'll put it in the show notes, guys.
But also, the past is the gift that keeps on giving, because you've set these beliefs. So you might unpick something, and then the next time you're like, oh yeah, no, I don't think that anymore, which is a really powerful place, because you realize you can change things. Once you realize that you can change your own beliefs and your own thoughts and your own self-talk, it becomes slightly addictive, because you're like, well, actually, if I could change that and it's made that happen, what else can I change? And that's how people become super successful. This is high performance coaching stuff, is removing those negative doubts, self-talk beliefs, so that you can then believe real positive stuff. And I don't mean, this is not affirmations. This is not, oh no, I'm amazing. If you don't believe it, it's bullshit. If you don't believe it, it's not a belief. You can't. So, I'm sure there's lots of amazing coaches out there that are like, oh, let's do some affirmations, or whatever you want to call them. You have to believe them. So you have to work out what you truly believe and reset it. That's the power. So the stuff I'm doing is really, deep structure, root-based stuff, not surface level, which a lot of people are doing out there.
Brilliant.
Good.
So before we close out, I just wanted to touch on something. We talked about the trigger, people triggering us, and that's something that I just wanted to touch on, because I think a lot of the times, obviously, our thoughts and a lot of this stuff comes from our childhood or young adulthood, where these things are set by this one little thing that set us off, and now we've got this belief for the rest of our lives. But they get enhanced, or new beliefs come up from the negative self-talk we hear, or the negative talk we hear as an adult, with people telling us we can't do that, or we're no good. And I think in business, it happens a lot for people that work in regular jobs. When you step out on your own, a lot of the wedding industry is mums that have, stepped away, or people that have got married and have decided to start in the wedding industry. It has been referred to as the hobbyists industry, which I hate. But a lot of people start from a place of, I'm really good at this, and I'm at home with the kids, and I want to do something for myself, and they start a business. And then people, their family that do regular jobs, start coming in, oh, what are you doing? Oh, that's not really a business. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You can't do that. You'll never make anything of it. It's not profitable. You're not going to blah, 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 and the tumble comes, the avalanche. How can we protect ourselves? Like, obviously now people know that there is this negative self-talk, and we absorb what other people say, and we make it a belief, and we then perpetuate that belief and manifest it, almost make it come true. What can we do when we hear something like that? Because as adults now, we know that that's hurtful and it's not true, and it's negative, and we can absorb it and start. So how can we protect ourselves from that?
Where to begin? I'll keep it simple. You can only, I'm going to keep, I will say this only once. You can only believe or be affected emotionally by something someone says if you believe it to be true for yourself. If you don't believe it's true about yourself, and that person says it, it will just reflect off you. As I say, if someone says to me, oh, gosh, Vivienne, you lie a lot. I know I don't lie at all. I'll just go, I don't know where you got that from. It doesn't affect me. If I have lied somewhere and it's hurt me a lot, and someone says you're a liar, that's going to really upset me and put me into that avalanche you talked about. So unless The only one caveat to that is if I care more about the thoughts, feelings and beliefs of that other person because they've got a higher power or authority than me. So if I didn't believe I'm not a liar, by the way, if I didn't believe I was a liar, but somebody I really cared about said I was, my brain would go into, when did I lie? When did they think what? If it's somebody I don't give a toss about, they can't have an impact on me. It's if a troll said something online, it has no impact on me because I know it's not true, and they don't know me anyway. But if somebody I knew said something to me, I would then give it some thought. And if somebody I knew said something to me and I believed it to be true, then it's going to have a big impact. But if it's not, then it will just go, oh, okay, well, I don't know where they've got that from. Let's ask them. I'm probably more likely to ask them. But it can only upset you if you care about their opinion, or you care about what they think, or you believe it to be true. So the first thing is to understand yourself. This is what self-actualization and really understanding your own mind and who you are is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. It should be taught in school. You wouldn't have any of these problems otherwise, because you just go, oh, that's an interesting opinion you've got there. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah,
that's what I would say to somebody I didn't know that said that to me. I'd be like, oh, it's never been said to me, by the way. I'm just using it as an example. but yeah, so if your friend said, oh no, you shouldn't be in that business, you'd be like, oh, that's funny because I'm earning like 50 grand a year doing this. So that's funny. Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
So we would be more respectful to have a conversation rather than go, oh my gosh, she doesn't think I'm any good. We only have to think we're no good to actually receive that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense.
You grow a shield by not having those negative beliefs yourself, because none of them are true anyway. I can tell you that much. They're not. They're just not.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you so much, Vivienne. So tell us a little bit more about this 3-day money mindset. I obviously have been through it once before, so I know how it's said, but for people who don't know how it's run, tell us a little bit about the structure of it, because you hear a 3-day and people are going to go, I haven't got 3 days to commit to that.
I know. Actually, I'll probably be done by advertising standards, because it's not 3 days at all. It's over 3 days, but it's basically an hour from 7 till 8 in the evening, which is what I probably should call it, really, because that is really what it is. So yeah, so it's three. It starts on but there's a bit of a welcome, because it's all business owning women basically. So of course we have a lovely time. We do a welcome on the Tuesday evening, which is the 24th. And then on the 25th, it's 7 till 8. There's no pre-work or homework. Everything is done in the session. And we go deep for an hour a night. That's the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of that week, and look at different things. So for example, on day one, it's a reality check. So and this is all about money. So where are you financially? And this isn't about me saying, oh, how much money have you got? This is about your own thoughts and feelings, letting you discover the true impact on your life from your beliefs and your maps so far. And then on day 2, we look into those beliefs and conditioning and the self-talk and behaviours and where they come from, because we are usually just basically a walking kind of replica of where our beliefs have come from. Think parents, grandparents, teachers, friends. So where it comes from, and even if it's true. So we do the truth hunting. So it's this hour is a very deep hour. It's not sort of, I'm just going to listen in. It's like, come and do the work. And then day 3, we look at the future impact, i.e. if you were to carry on with those kind of money beliefs, what will happen for you? What is that likely to show up as? i.e. if you were to have some of your qualification beliefs, which all would go into the same pot, actually, how would that impact any future business you've got? It probably stop you and make you get in your own way. So yes, that's basically it. So I just demonstrate my joy and love for the subject of the mindset, and then at the end of that there's opportunities to do further work if you so want to. But yeah, it's a free program. I love it. It's my give back to the small business community, because most people are in their own way, and there's so much more they can achieve and give back to the world if they get out of their own way. So yeah, so everybody's free to join if they want to come. There's some tears normally, there might be a bit of laughter, there's lots of, oh my god, I can't believe I've believed that for so long, and oh shit, I know where that comes from, that's my mother's belief. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff goes on, lots of relief and release. They kind of go together, and sometimes some laughter, but mostly a very high level of self-awareness and change. Yeah, so that's where the mindset comes from. So,
it's very good, and I think I probably will come along and join in on that one. So I will put the link in the show notes when Viv sends it over to me, so you can come and join that. It's definitely worth it if you feel that you've got any issues around money, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and there's that thing that's keeping us stuck, and we haven't uncovered it because we haven't dug deep enough. So do check that out. It will be in the show notes. Head over to spwv.co.uk/blog and you will find it there. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Viv. It's been an absolute eye-opener.
Hopefully just something someone might listen to might trigger some change, so that's all I can hope for people. So thank you for having me here. Lovely to talk to you.
You're welcome.
See you in August.
Thank you. Bye everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
The Society of Professional Wedding Vendors is opening its doors to new members at the end of September. So please do head over to the website www.spwv.co.uk where you can sign up to be on our waitlist so you will know as soon as we open the doors. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button where you listen to the podcast so that you don't miss a thing. And if you enjoyed today's episode, then please consider sharing it with your friends in the biz and sharing it on social. You can tag me on Instagram at DonnaSPWV.